As you can see by the recent synagogue fire in Mississippi, that right-wing terrorism is still around, and still around a lot. Federal officials on Monday charged a man with setting fire to the only synagogue in Jackson, Mississippi, claiming that the suspect did so because of the building's Jewish ties. According to an FBI affiliate, the building sustained extensive damage, rendering it inoperable for an indefinite period of time. What's important to note is that this is the same synagogue that was bombed in 1967 by the Ku Klux Klan, officials said. I like to bring this up because Trump and far-right extremists and the far-right and the right wing in general has claimed that most terrorist attacks are committed by the far left, and that it is rising radical leftist groups foment the most political violence in the U.S. Donald Trump has said that. Right-wing extremists have said that. Just right-wing people in general have said that. But based on several government investigations, most terrorist attacks are committed by the far right. Based on government and independent analysis, right-wing extremist violence has been responsible for the overwhelming majority of fatalities, amounting to approximately 75% to 80% of U.S. domestic terrorism deaths since 2001. Cases include the 2015 Charleston church shooting, when white supremacist Dylann Roof killed 9 black people, and the 2018 Tree of Life synagogue attack in Pittsburgh, where 11 worshippers were murdered, the 2009 El Paso Walmart massacre, in which an anti-immigrant gunman killed 23 people, and famously the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, an earlier but still important example, killed 168 in the deadliest domestic terrorist attack in U.S. history. Now, where's the left wing in this? There's all these instances are right wing examples. Now, I'll still give you some left wing examples of terrorist attacks committed by the left wing. I wouldn't even call them really terrorist attacks, more like vandalism and arson. Arson can be used as a terrorist attack, but vandalism, I wouldn't call that terrorism. To a certain extent. Now, examples on the far left and the left wing of terrorist attacks is the Animal Liberation Front and Earth Liberation Front, who launched arson and vandalism campaigns in the 1990s and 2000s, which were way more likely to target property rather than people. Violence did occur during the Seattle May Day protests in 2016, with anarchist groups and other demonstrators clashing with police. The clashes resulted in only injuries and some arrests. Now, if this rhetoric is not scaring you of the U.S. and the U.S. government declaring that left-wing people are the main cause of terrorism, it should, because this exact thing happened in 1930s Germany, right before the Night of the Long Knives, in which leftist groups and even right-wing groups that didn't agree with the government fully were purged completely by the government of Nazi Germany. Now, I'll say this. This is a prime example of why left-wing people should be armed, should start arming, not in offensive manners, but in a defensive manner. Arm yourself to be on the defense, and only on the defense. Arm yourself to protect your communities, arm yourself to protect loved ones and all that, because these people are the main cause of violence, and they will commit more violence to get their way. And they'll shift their blame so their violence seems justified to their own people. By sitting here and not being armed, you're giving the right-wing extremists the advantage when anything does happen. Let's say, like, for example, if a Second American Civil War ever happens, you are giving these people a direct advantage by not being armed. And I think that's something we shouldn't allow because, well, we're kind of cooked if they're the only armed ones. So, just even if it's just a cheap gun, I mean, just practice with it. Practice your marksmanship, practice cleaning and maintaining it, practice reloading, practice, drill movements, practice, gun drills, all that. So you're better prepared when, if anything does happen, when shit hit the fan, they're not the only ones armed and prepared. And also, like I mentioned, this isn't just a U.S. problem, too. Right-wing extremist attacks happen all over the Western world, even non-Western world, like in Russia, which, I mean, I would still consider, like, kind of Western world, as in, like, a developed nation that, exploits poorer ones, because that's what the Western world is famous for. But even in Russia and places like that, it's a huge problem. And then the far-right government just blames it on the left-wing people, and left-wing groups. I mean, I can give you a whole list of examples of far-right terrorist attacks. Hold on. Let's take a look at Russia right here. The Savior was a Russian neo-Nazi militant nationalist organization which claimed credit for the August 2006 Moscow market bombing, which killed 13. And then not to mention all the far-right groups in the Donbass during the 2014 to 2022 Ukraine war killed many thousands of civilians. And let's look at Turkey, for example, on Bloody May Day, committed by the far-right and neo-fascist Grey Wolves organization, which is a whole different episode. I could just start on them alone. Killed over 36 leftist-wing protesters, just protesting. They weren't armed or anything, they were just protesting, and injured 136. And this is in Taksim Square, 1977, May 1st. Again, this is not scaring you into arming yourself. I don't know what will, because soon it will not just be accusations that they're doing, but full-on arrest of people, of just left-wing-ish people, or people that are not aligned with their white supremacist, ultra-nationalist views for America. They're planning a purge, and that's why they are doing this shit. You have to make your enemies unpopular by calling them out as terrorists and calling them out as a violent extremist, even though you're truly the violent extremist, and they'll do this. Now, will they go as far as to massacring like they did in Turkey and all that? I'm not sure, but there will definitely be arrests made under the false tense of counterterrorism. And as always, if you're in the East Tennessee area and you don't know your gun rights, or you need help practicing your gun rights, or gun training, or how to shoot a gun, how to maintain a gun and all that, I would suggest heading over to the Egalitarian Liberation Front of America on either Instagram, or you can go to their website, www.upriseamerica.com, and you just either join them, or you send a join request, or you can go to their contact on social media and contact them. Anyways, that's all for this little segment though.